How we doing today, guys? It's Sam and
Adam here.
Back with this week's fishing report for you guys. So we got a bunch of cool stuff we're going to show you today, but let's get into fishing. So it's a great time of the year. It's summertime. Rockfish is open back up. There's so many different things we can do in the bay. So I think starting out with what's the easiest access thing to do is go perch fishing. And it's a great time of the year for perch because if you want to fish from shallow, you want to fish from deep, there's a lot of different stuff you can do. Fishing up here in the northern bay, I know a lot of folks have been having some luck off of like Hackett's Point and Pedickery Point, looking for some of those more bottom fish. A great option for that is one of these Chesapeake sabiki rigs, especially when you're fishing out in a little bit deeper water. These are great little things. You can just put a little sinker on them, tip them with bait if you want to, but if the fish are schooled up, you really don't need bait. You can just kind of sit there and jig for them. Now, I know you've been doing some perch fishing as well, but you've been doing more shallow water stuff. So what you been into?
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of times in the evenings and the mornings, you know, during those low light hours, the water's going to be a little cooler. Perch are going to be tight to structure up on those rocks and stuff like that, feeding on bait fish. And a great thing to imitate bait fish is something like this perch hounder here. This is the opening night color. It's flashy, it's got a nice profile, and they really like to go after it.
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, these fish are really everywhere. Whether you're fishing mid-bay, northern bay, they're basically everywhere. On all the rivers, shoreline areas, all that kind of stuff is a great option for you. So I think what a lot of us have been doing, especially with the Rockfish closure, is we've been rock fishing lately, especially because it's been open back up. It's really been a shallow water bite from most of what I hear. You can find those open water fish, of course, places like the Bay Bridge, your lighthouses and stuff. You can certainly go back and jig your big plastics, your 5, your 7-inch straight tail baits and catch some of those bigger bites. But a lot of the shallow water stuff has been great. We've got some really good grass up here this year. The Magthe and the Severn have had some of the best grass I've seen in a while. So I've been fishing a lot more shallow water stuff. A lot of the stuff I've been fishing with are just small plastics. Here I've got some little Fathom 1/8 ounce jig heads, and these are some new baits in for the shop. These are a little 4-inch bait fuel. It's kind of like a straight tail profile. You can fish those a lot of different ways. I've been fishing them a lot underneath of a popping cork. Popping corks are great this time of the year, especially in the shallow. It's summertime, the fish are active, they're feeding hard. A nice loud noise like a popping cork can really draw you a few more bites, especially after kind of that top water dies down in the morning. Transitioning to something that is really a subsurface bait, but you still have that noise is really a good option. So what kind of stuff have you been throwing for those?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been doing a lot of shallow water rock fishing as well. Same as with the perch, it's really gonna be those prime sunset and sunrise hours. You wanna get out there early, you wanna get out there late. They've been pushing bait up against the rocks, feeding on silver sides and peanut bunker. Something like 4-inch paddle tail is gonna do you really good. You just rig it on a lead head. They've been hitting a lot of top water too. You could throw a spook, or I like poppers a lot. Something like this storm chug bug. It's got a nice rattle in there. Makes a lot of commotion.
So I think the other thing that we're starting to see a little bit more and more of are bluefish starting to show up all the way up to kind of the Poplar Island area. I know if you're down further south than that, you've probably been seeing them for a few weeks. Mackerel haven't really been mixed in very much at all yet. Doesn't mean we won't see them, but they certainly are a little bit behind what we've seen the past few years. Some of my favorite stuff when you get those breaking birds and breaking fish out in the open water is just some sort of like sting silver style lure. This is just a really pretty option from Hoagie. This is their epoxy jig. Really nice, and it mimics exactly what they're eating. The silver sides, the bay anchovies, whatever you want to call them. This is a great option for you. If you see those mackerel come up, I'm bombing this as far as I can, and I'm reeling it so fast my bait is literally skipping out of the water. But the bluefish are there. I kind of am just working it really quickly through the school. Not as fast, but it's another great option because the cool thing about these kinds of jigs is you really can't fish them wrong. It's really just more of a profile thing than it is more of an action thing. So as long as you're kind of in the mix of when they're breaking on those things, you can pretty much throw anything at them. That's a good option. The GI Jigs Rain Minnows, another classic sting silvers, all sorts of good options for that as well. So hopefully we'll start to see some of those showing up here soon. I think the only thing we're forgetting about is freshwater. I haven't done much of it, but I know you've been doing a little bit of it.
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit of freshwater stuff. I've been fishing for smallmouth up on the Potomac River, and again, same thing, your dog days of summer, it's gonna be those low light hours. And what I've been getting a lot of bites on is something like this, your River to Sea Whopper Plopper. It gets them really fired up, makes a nice chugging in the water. You just cast it into a deep pocket or some shade or around some boulders, crank it in, straight retrieve, and they hammer it.
On other good news, it seems like the crabbing is starting to pick back up. I know they've been doing a lot better recently in the Magthe, the Severn, and Whitehall. So you folks looking to get out there, run your trial lines, run your traps, is a great time of the year. Starting to go a little bit shallower, it seems. I've heard a lot of folks having success in like 5 to 7 feet of water. So good option there if you want to get out on the crabs. I guess the last thing is probably going to be the stuff down towards the end of the bay, the big cobia, the red drum. So from my understanding, it's starting to slow down a little bit on the red drum. There certainly are still out there. It's just kind of been a little bit tougher. I think you have more traffic than we've had in years past chasing those big schools of fish. So it is a little bit tougher, but if you do find those redfish, fishing your bigger baits like your big 7-inch Z-Mans, things like that can give you some good shot there. So I think that just about wraps it up. And thanks guys for stopping by, and have a good one.